ESPN2. You could be a part of Unsportsmanlike Nation on the Dr. Pepper call-in line at 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. ESPN Nation, presented by Dr. Pepper. It's not college football season without the delicious taste of an ice-cold Dr. Pepper. College football, it's a pepper thing. Buffalo Bills Radio Network, an amazing weekend of playoff football. The conference championships are set. Washington, Philly, Buffalo, Kansas City. The national championship game on ESPN and ESPN Radio tonight. And it is MLK Day. Happy MLK Day. And thank you to Martin Luther King for being the amazing hero and opening so many doors that he did to allow this guy to sit next to us every single day to open even more doors for other people who look like him. And you guys out there can come right into our family as a result of the wonderful Martin Luther King. Along Michelle Swollen, Chris Canty, Evan Cohen with you. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. I don't know if I can even say good morning with a straight face just because it was such a disappointing loss for my Baltimore Ravens up at Orchard Park yesterday. Gut-wrenching fashion, losing that football game, the ebbs and flows. It was awesome if you had no dog in the fight. But for me, a Baltimore Ravens, somebody that's got blood in the ground with that franchise, for the Ravens to lose on a two-point conversion where one of the most sure-handed receivers in the entire NFL, Mark Andrews, drops the ball, it was a gut punch, Smalls.
Does it make you feel better that we picked him in the Pick'em Challenge, the Bills?
No.
Okay.
No, it doesn't.
I'm just trying to cheer you up a little.
I appreciate it. No, it does make me feel better.
But yeah, if you're a member of the Baltimore Ravens organization or a fan this morning, you feel like yet another one got away. Absolutely gut-wrenching, disappointing when you have a season like they had and you got another year out of Lamar Jackson like you got out of him. And then again, the mistakes that plagued this team in the second round and the fact that they're so good in the first round of the playoffs, but when it comes to that second round, it feels like they just simply cannot get over the hump. The turnovers from Lamar, I know we're going to talk a lot about Mark Andrews as we should today, but it's the fourth playoff game where Lamar Jackson threw an interception and lost a fumble. He had those two turnovers, and the Ravens are 0-4 in those playoff games.
27-25, Buffalo beats Baltimore. Unbelievable performance by Buffalo. Give them credit.
Absolutely.
They were up big in this game, and I thought maybe even bigger if they would have scored at that second half first drive. They were up 21-10 at the half. Lamar had an interception and a fumble loss in the first half, but Baltimore did fight all the way back. They had a chance to tie the game by way of the two-point conversion after Lamar had an awesome drive. And Mark Andrews, who had a fumble earlier in the game, first lost fumble for him since 2019, had a drop in the end zone that could have tied the game. There was time left on the clock for Buffalo, obviously, where they could have made something out of that potentially. But obviously a tie game at 27-all if Mark Andrews makes that play.
Oof.
The tough thing also, Lamar Jackson, who arguably is the MVP this year, third time in his career if he is to win it, it was his first multi-turnover game of the year. So right now, do we give more credit to the Bills or blame to the Ravens?
I don't want to be dismissive of what the Buffalo Bills did because they played mistake-free football, right? No turnovers. They only had one penalty in that game that was accepted. So credit to them for playing a clean football game because we know the margin for error is slim to none when we talk about these two quarterbacks going head-to-head. But I have to put this on the Baltimore Ravens. I just have to blame the Baltimore Ravens for the inopportune mistakes that we've seen. And I can't get out of my head what Myles Garrett said about this Ravens team. He said the only team that can beat the Baltimore Ravens is the Baltimore Ravens. And that's exactly what happened yesterday. The giveaways by Lamar Jackson in the first half, the fumble by Mark Andrews late in the fourth quarter, those are things that are just hard to overcome. And yet and still, the Ravens overcome all of those things. They had a chance after driving the ball the length of the field at the end of the game. 88 yards they marched when they got the ball back with 3.5 minutes to go. 88 yards.
Wow. Impressive.
They get a touchdown. I mean, Lamar Jackson was unbelievable. The offensive line did a great job of blocking it up, buying him time. Hits Isaiah Likely for what should have been, an opportunity to tie the game up. And then on a two-point conversion, they dial up the perfect play. It's a mesh route. They don't get OPI on the receiver. It's clean. Nobody's within 5 yards of Mark Andrews, and he drops the ball. It is unbelievable, Smalls, that it played out in that way. But to me, that single play is a microcosm of the Baltimore Ravens in the Lamar Jackson era. It's a team that's really close to contending at a championship level, but they just don't make those plays when they need to in order to get them over the hump.
And you hope that with Lamar as your quarterback, you're going to have a window to win for quite some time, but you never know. These opportunities that the Ravens have had these past few years, you never know if you're going to be able to replicate that success moving forward. And you brought up the Myles Garrett quote about the only people that can beat the Ravens are the Ravens, and they did it this year. We saw it with the mistakes yesterday, but we also saw it last year in the AFC Championship game when they abandoned the run versus the Kansas City Chiefs. And that's what has to ultimately be the most frustrating thing if you're a Ravens fan.
The Zay Flowers fumble at the end of that game.
Yes, you know that they are talented enough and capable enough to do it, and you just hope that they will continue to get these opportunities because the NFL is fickle like that. There's a lot of turnovers, or a lot of turnover with teams being good, bad. You never know what's going to happen, and I hope that the Ravens didn't miss their window to get this done.
Coach Harbaugh, John Harbaugh, was asked post-game about turnovers being a common thread, unfortunately for Baltimore in the Lamar Jackson era, and he said this.
No.
But this has happened, as we just pointed out, multiple times for his team, not just him, but for his team in the biggest of moments. There has to be some common thread, no?
No, there is a common thread. You feel like the Baltimore Ravens choked. Let's call it what it is. And like Tom Brady and Bill Belichick say all the time, before you can go out there and win a game, you have to avoid losing a game. And the Baltimore Ravens can't seem to avoid losing the games when the pressure is the greatest, when the stage is the biggest. I don't know, but you have to attribute that to the coach, and you have to attribute that to the best player, Lamar Jackson. Fair or unfair, he's going to get the lion's share of the blame. Now, what I would argue when it comes to those turnovers, the one throw to Rashad Bateman, that was a miscommunication. Obviously, the receiver ran a different route, broke it off. When it comes to the fumble, it was a bad snap, awful snap by Tyler Linderbaum, who got dominated in yesterday's game by the defensive tackles, Ed Oliver, Daquan Jones, Jordan Phillips. Tyler Linderbaum, Pro Bowl center, got dominated yesterday. But, I mean, it was a bad snap, and then Lamar compounded that by mistake by making a worse turnover. And those are the types of plays that just can't happen. For Lamar, you got to know when the journey is over. Yeah, you're capable of doing a hell of a lot. But sometimes it's the play that you don't make that's ultimately going to allow your team to be able to have success. It's not trying to do too much when you get a bad snap. Falling on the ball, protecting an opportunity for a field goal to get points. Now, you can make the argument, if Mark Andrews doesn't drop the pass the play before that, then maybe that bad snap by Linderbaum and the subsequent fumble by Lamar never happened. But I digress. All I'm simply saying is, for Lamar, he tries to routinely do too much in these moments, and I think that's why we see a different version of him in the postseason as opposed to what we see in the regular season.
That's one of the reasons why I wanted to pick the Bills, because as amazing as Lamar Jackson has been and continues to be, when you look at the numbers, first round, second round in the playoffs, they are drastically different. They are drastically different. And yes, it is a team loss yesterday. You can look at all facets of that game, and it's definitely on the Baltimore Ravens as a whole. But when you are a two-time MVP award winner, you unfortunately become a prisoner of your own success, where if trends like this continue in the playoffs, we're going to talk about you. We are going to analyze your complicitness and the fact that the Ravens can't get over that hump. I mean, Lamar's now 1-4 in the divisional round in the conference championship games, and he is the only two-time